Let me tell you something. I've been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time.
Welcome to Market Makers, boys and girls. Your home for tomorrow's TA today. Have you been watching me through the month of April, guys? I would put my month of April up against anybody. I have absolutely been rizzing you up with this Sigma TA. This channel has been based. We saw the bullshit. We saw through the bullshit, through the tariff talk, through all the fear mongering, the panicins taking over X. Everybody was shorting the market at the bottom. You had record shorts on the market. They're getting margin called now because you just set market history. A 16% decline, north of a 16% rally, all within the same month. You set stock market history, and it was all predicted because I've been telling you for weeks, the market will act like a magnet and move to peak resistance. Peak resistance on the daily is the 200 moving average and the bottom of your white call fractal. That's where the market's going. And look at this, as I'm recording, you're up even more. You're at 5678 S&P futures. I feel like we need some type of celebration to celebrate this historic month. That's Lee's favorite dance, everybody. That's Lee's favorite dance. All right, let's zoom in, not spend too much time on the weekly, but I want to look at the weekly because you always got to zoom out, right? When you don't know what's going on, zoom out. You guys are familiar with my fractal 5-wave pattern here. It's playing out beautifully. You're familiar with the market symmetry. We had the 50% retracement here after our all-time high in January 2022. We had our 50% retracement on this decline with the spring equinox, of course, over here. This is your fall equinox decline. Spring equinox decline, 50% retracement. And now we're going to zoom in and see what pattern the market is making because it's making the pattern that we've been talking about literally for weeks and weeks and weeks. But let's zoom in. Weekly time frame, here's your 50 simple moving average, right? You're coming right up to the 50. If you guys use moving averages, you know I don't really use them, but I like to look at them because so many people look at them. Let me throw my 18 on there, 18 on the weekly. Let me throw my whole moving average, which I do like for trend. That's all lining up, coalescing right here because even though you're on this historic rally, the strongest rally in over 3 years now, 7 straight up days, you're going to hit resistance. Let's look at this with Fibonacci. Pull a fib down from our all-time high, coming right up, right to the area I gave you, the target area weeks ago, 5,800, 5,850, right in that area. This is how I think the market's going to play out. Base case, you made your retracement, you come up, you find resistance right in that area, you pull back, okay? It's this pullback that the perma bears, the mega bears think is going to absolutely collapse the market. And understand, hey, that's a possibility. It's not my base case. You will know if it does because you'll take out key support levels. My base case is a softer pullback and then a rally back up to challenge the all-time high, ultimately defeating the all-time high and going to your blow-off top, your 7,000, 7,500. And if you watched the last video, we talked about the elements of a blow-off top. You want to see rapid acceleration. That could happen as early as late June into mid-July if we get a summer top. If we fail and we start breaking down, well, guess what? You still got to enjoy a near 20% rally off the bottom, and then we're going to trade it short. That's what I do. I trade up and I trade down in the marketplace. So this is what I'm looking at on a weekly, guys. I think it's important to understand your key support levels, your key resistance levels, and let's look at a couple other things because this is good, right? You guys know we track fear and greed. Oh, look at that. We just ticked up. We're at 49. Remember, we set a near record low at 4. The lowest this has ever been. Extreme fear back to the pandemic. You were in extreme fear. And we were looking to buy. If you follow me on X, give me a follow at Market Canary. I was sharing with you what I was doing with Solana, accumulating below 112 all the way down to 89. It bottomed at 95. Solana's up 65%. So give me a follow on X. Looking at this, guys, you're in neutral. Where will the market finally make its final top? In greed or extreme greed, a blow off top. That's how market cycles end. You are in neutral, heading up to what I think will be a soft top and a pullback. Lee, before we get into the other charts, let's go ahead and start the show. Guys, be sure to check out marketmakers.trade. I would love to see you in our community. I think it's the best financial freedom seeking community in this space. Over 20 countries represented there. We have staff traders putting up trades, putting up block state updates, and we have fantastic members. Marketmakers.trade. Your first week is free. Try it out. Join straight through the website. Let's talk about what's happening here in the space of the ES. Okay, I shared this with you last week. Look at how it's tracking. Granted, it's brand new, but look how it's tracking. Here's your 200 on the daily. You're moving up to the 200. There's your key levels, 5,800, 5,881. This is where you want to look at for a potential reversal for a pullback, right? This is the pullback we're looking for. So remember what's coming up. And I know so many people that do TA, especially in the YouTube space, which is mind numbing. They don't understand anything about the macro. They don't understand economics. They just say, oh, I don't need the news. I just look at the charts. Yeah, I get it. Well, that's how you're missing all the big moves. That's why you're reacting to everything and not able to accurately predict anything, because you don't understand what's happening in the space. What's happening in the space is trade negotiations. You have the FOMC coming up on Wednesday, and Powell, if he's going to keep his hawkish stance to really try to stick it to Trump because he's worried about tariffs causing inflation, which tariffs are deflationary, as you all know. The ECB of all people know that tariffs are deflationary. Lagarde said so herself. Tariffs are a demand shock and the neutral rate does not apply, and she's going to keep cutting. Powell's taking the opposite approach. You have all the heat being thrown back and forth between Powell and Trump, and Powell's taking the opposite approach. So again, you're looking for a confluence for a potential top. What's your confluence? Strongest rally in over 3 years, coming up to key Fibonacci, coming up to the 200 moving average, which every single retail trader looks at, right? Even some big algos look at that. And you have Powell. If Powell doesn't cut, which he's not expected to, lots of reasons to get that top and drop, okay? Lots of reasons. We'll look at some of these levels on the other side in the daily chart, but where this could drop down to, look, if it's a really shallow retracement because the market really wants to rally, then you're looking at like 54.70, 54.80, somewhere in there. If it's a deeper retracement because the market's scared, or Powell just says some crazy shit at the conference, you're looking at 53.09, possibly 5,200, right? This is totally normal retracement. It's a 50% retracement of the rally, a 618 retracement of the rally, but you could easily get that softer retracement right around that 5,500 as well, right? So just keep that in mind. That's normal. What we want to see after the retracement is holding that higher low structure, and then we want to see acceleration into a blow off top if we are to get that summer top. If we just get the rally into the summer and yet again another retracement, then I'm looking at a fall equinox top. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, the equinox states, go catch up on the last video. I don't want to repeat everything every video, but we go over it there. Let's look at this on the daily. S&P futures on the daily. Here's your big W fractal that we're pushing up into here for the fifth wave. 5,776 is a target projected off this W, which happens to line up the 1618 beautifully once again with the 200. And again, your Wyckoff fractal, guys, is right down here in this neighborhood as well. 5840. So watch, if you're euphoric here hitting this, you can get some overspill, but I'm looking for resistance and I'm looking for a pullback to come back once again and keep your higher lows in check. And if you base and you move up, that's how the market's going to continue. So we talked about previously in the previous iteration of a chart here, how will you know if this pullback is more than just a pullback? Well, look at your prior lows here in the W, right? 51.27, 48.36, right? You want to stay above the 51.27. So if you get a pullback with Powell, next week, you start pulling back. Again, the heels of the strongest rally in 3+ years. You start getting a pullback, you start failing, you need to hold that 51.27. If not, you're revisiting the lows at a bare minimum, right? And that's when you got to look at what's happening in the market, what's happening with the catalyst in the market. Let's look at NASDAQ 100 futures. 20,423 is the target for our W pattern. There's your 200, just shy of it. And of course, you could overspill a little bit, closer to 21,000. It all depends how it plays out, what the catalysts are, what you're looking for with these geometric expansions and contractions in the market. You're looking for a reaction at that level, right, to see if it's playing out. Your 200 right there. I want to see how this plays out. Let's go ahead and pull a fib for downside. If we are to retrace, let's assume we get up to our target here. If we are to retrace, again, you want to hold your previous low here right around that 17,650 level, but really you want to hold 17,975, right? That's the level you want to hold if we retrace with Powell, if the rally starts to lose some steam. Remember, half of Wall Street's still extremely bearish, right? I mean, they hate Trump. And when I say they hate Trump, that's not an opinion. When you look at the political donations for the election cycle, 80% of the money in Wall Street went to Trump's opponent, Kamala Harris. They want that free money. They want you in serfdom. Remember, the top 10% of the people in the U.S. own 88% of the market. Okay? They own 88% of the market. So your 401k, whatever you have, peanuts. Peanuts. They've been trashing the economic policies, the media, and Wall Street. 82+% of all coverage in the month of April regarding Trump, his staff, and the economic policies has been negative. 82%. You look at CNN, it's 89%. And look what the market's doing, because people see through the bullshit. Nobody trusts the media anymore. Let's go ahead and move forward. Looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you have the exact same thing I've been showing you guys for weeks, right? I feel like a broken record saying this, but you got to show people because new people join all the time. I'm looking for Bitcoin to push up. Look, it's at 96,992 right now as I'm recording. I think this weekend is when you're going to see a little bit of a move. I have key resistance I'll show in the daily at 100, 102, but this is overall the pattern. Very similar to the tops I just showed you in the S&P and the NASDAQ as well, right? So you have the wave down, your wave up. You're going to hit resistance right around this point, and this is where you're going to get some type of retracement. Could just be to Bitcoin's 200. It could be the top here of this previous accumulation range that you made. I got my magnet on. Right in this range right here, that 87, 88 level could be right there. And then you want to hold that level, keep your higher low structures intact, right? Keep your higher low structures, and then you're going to blast off. And that's when I'm looking at that 132 to 145, that trading range. Let me show you this on the daily. There you go, daily. Key resistance level, 100 to 102. That's the little corridor, my kill box, right? You guys, if you've been watching this channel for a few years, I like to put a kill box there. This is my kill box for the price to continue to move up, right? I want to see some type of pause, some type of retracement, because it's healthy. You don't want to get overextended. It's how you get big crashes. Like to see this 100, 102. Remember, your all-time high is 109, right? So we come back. We retrace them with the market. Good back test level would be your 200, which is currently about 89, 90K. And remember that 92K level, which has been great support right here. So you could come up to 100, 102, knock down 8 to 10K. Normal. Bitcoin, right? It's Bitcoin. You want to see some basing, and then if the market's base and hold that higher low structure, you want to see the breakout, ultimately flipping 102, flipping 109. And here on the daily, you're looking at 131 and 145. Those are my two big upside targets. Let's continue on. There's Solana. There's our big move of 65% off the $95 low. What does this mean for Solana? If Bitcoin pushes up towards 100, 102, Maybe we can see Solana go from 152 here to 171. Remember, Bitcoin dominance has a lot of the alts suppressed, so I know it's not a big move, but this isn't the final move if my thought process plays out correctly. So you could get that move up to the 170 level, come back down, look for support somewhere in that 130, 125, 145 range. Ultimately, if the markets hold support and Bitcoin holds support, you're looking at much higher prices in Solana. For instance, the 618 is 219. 72% of your all-time high is 240. And if Bitcoin does my TA and goes up to that 132 to 145 target this year, 2025, guys, is when I'm looking for that. Again, could be as early as a summer peak, right? If we were looking at that, then we're looking at Solana at 350, 419 for the ultimate upside targets. But everything has to play out. The markets have to hold their lows, right? We can't have multiple wars break out. You have to have good news, catalyst-driven market. And as the market weakens and they price in euphoric Fed cuts, because that's what the market really wants is Fed cuts. If as it weakens, you're going to see catalysts for that burner to the upside. It's counterintuitive, but that's just how it works, guys. Let's do an update on gold real quick, and I'll wrap this up. Gold. Look at gold. I mean, I gave you guys this chart on X, as you guys know, with the target box before gold got to the target box. 34.59, gold went up to 35.09. This is gold futures. I went over the gold cycle, made a separate video just for X. Went over the gold cycle, the 7-8 week parabolic cycle. Even David Hunter trolled my comment saying gold wasn't parabolic. And guess what it did? It went up. I told you I was looking for a 20% decline was the average in gold when it does this parabolic cycle. And you look at this. It went up, and where is it at right now? It is over 8%, 8.5% down. Now, two of China's ETFs for gold sold 2 million ounces yesterday. Who's been buying all the gold? China. 8.5% decline. Let's look at this on the daily. So here's your decline on the daily, 8.5%. Where can this go to? Doesn't have to do the 20%, but it can drop further. 31.76 would increase this to what, about a 10% decline? Yeah, 9.5, something like that. 10% decline. If you come down to 29.70, it's 15% decline. At some point, because price moves in waves, you will get some type of reflexive rebound, either to a lower high, or you could always make a new high. But guys, I think what's happening as the markets go risk on, if I'm right with these blow off tops, money's going to come out of gold, right? It's going to go into the risk assets. So you're going to see this drift or this sideways chop in gold. Doesn't mean it's collapsing, but ultimately, when you get the final bust, all busts have taken down the metal complex with them. Look at the GFC. Gold fell 34%, silver 61%. Look at .com, which again was a pure equity bubble. Gold still fell 25%. Now, that's not a big move relative to NASDAQ. That fell 80%, right? But just be aware, you hit a parabolic top. It's trying to find support. It's trying to coil, and we'll see what the next move is in gold, but just be aware there's possible lower prices below. All right, guys, have a fantastic weekend. Be sure you follow me, like, and subscribe as well. Share with your friends and family if you think they'll enjoy this content. And I'll see you guys on X and on YouTube and in the Discord. Take care, everybody.